On this one, I'm going to go ahead and learn how to use the gradient tool. In this case, you can barely tell it on the screen, but this is kind of a blend from a light peach color down into a kind of a darker peach color. But on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to a bag that I've used earlier. I'm going to go get the eyedropper tool. And I'm going to try to click on this kind of dark green so that it puts it in my foreground color. Cool. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a new document. New. I'm going to make it be, let's just say 9 by 12, a little bit larger than my target size, at maybe 300 dpi. Click Create. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a new layer so I don't put this on the background. This time I wasn't dragging or making a copy, so I just clicked the new layer icon without dragging the background down, which normally copies it. I still have my foreground color of green over here. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go ahead and copy that color. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to flip the switch button until my other color in the palette pops up on top and is now the foreground. I'm going to click on that one. Down here, I'm going to hit Paste. So it's going to put that same color. So right now, if I did nothing else and just clicked OK, I've got the foreground and background set for the same color of green, which does me no good. I'm going to go back and click on the foreground, and I'm maybe going to come in here to where it says brightness, and I'm going to pull this down. I clicked on the B button for brightness, so I'm just going to lighten this thing. Or if you wanted to, you could grab here, and you could pull. And I'm going to over-exaggerate these two colors from the before and the after, just so that you can make sure that you see it. But if I was doing this for real, I probably wouldn't be making this much of a distinction between these two colors. Click OK. And now that I've got a lighter foreground and a darker background, I go get the gradient tool right here. Now there's a bunch of different attachments to this, but normally when you click on this, the first thing you'll see is it'll be showing you your foreground to your background color. Neat. Then there's several different options up here. The first one, if I just hover over this, says linear. This one says radial, and then I have some other options in here. But most people use either the linear or the gradient. Maybe on my document, I don't really have a full screen picture. But rather than just filling this entire background with a solid green, that can be somewhat problematic in that it's just too flat. So what we end up finding a lot of times on the internet or in any kind of print work or TV work we do, we end up seeing people use some kind of a blend. So what I'm just going to do here is, while I've got the gradient tool on, foreground to background with my two shades of green, and this being set as the linear gradient, I'm going to grab the tool and I'm going to grab it here from the top, and I'm going to pull all the way down. You don't have to pull in a perfectly straight line, so if you messed up a little bit, it's not that big a deal. Pull straight down, and this is going to be a blend of my foreground to my background color. Neat. Or I could blend in the opposite direction. I just hit Command Z to undo that. Now I'm going my foreground to my background, dark to light. Neat. The other thing is if I was going to be pulling down on this, again to go from light to dark, by me pulling the entire width of the thing, that means right here is where the foreground is, and right down here is where the background is. But what if I knew that I really wanted the page to be, for the most part, the light color, and then somewhere in here is where I wanted the transition? Well, I just come here, partway down the page, and I just pull in here. It's going to go back and it's going to fill all of the top part with the foreground color, and it's not going to start the blend till here. So I'm just going to keep hitting Command Z between these. Pulling it down to only here means it moves from light to dark there. Halfway, light to dark, and then pretty much the bottom half is the dark thing. And I can also see what it looks like if I was to pull from like one corner to the next. Again, this is just making the background look a little bit more three-dimensional. But if in the case if I was going to be using some white type up here, the white type isn't going to stand out so well on top of the lighter color. So again, I'm going to hit Command Z and I'm going to go back. And maybe what I really wanted to do is to have it be something like this, so that this corner was darker, making it easier for the white to stand out. Now, in addition to being able to do a linear blend, what a lot of people do is they use the radial blend. So that's this one right here. Works pretty much the same way. Once I click on it, this time I generally start in the middle of the document. So if I push and hold and pull to the corner, it's going to basically make a glowing ball with the lightest color in the middle and the darkest color out here at the edges. Again, I'm just hitting Command Z to undo this, or going Edit, Undo, just so that I can see several different options. If I pulled from here and I pulled beyond the edge of the page, I won't have the harsher edge of the dark coming in here in the corner because it extended how much the light came down. I don't have to do it from the middle. I could have the ball start here. So now I've kind of shifted the glow to the left edge of the page. Maybe I want to shift the ball so that it starts up here in the corner and it blends down here to something like this. So I've just got a big highlight up here, like a spotlight, and the rest of it's darker. Again, if I knew I needed to put something lighter or something in here like this. Now the neat thing is that once I've decided what it is that I want to do, again, I stop. I love this one. I go up to File, pull down to Save As. It's going to want to save it as a Photoshop file, again, because it has a layer in it. So I'm just going to call this green ball. It's all ready for me to be able to pop into InDesign or Illustrator or something like that. The other thing is if for some reason I'm done and I went to the other document and I placed it in and I thought everything was looking okay, but the color green wasn't quite right, I could come back and reopen this thing in, and I can come down here to this one, where the shortcut is this little weird kind of black and white cookie, not the mask. And that's going to tell me that that is create new fill or adjustment layer. I can click on that and pull up here and like let go on hue saturation. And on this one, it added this whole new layer on top. I could say, you know what my problem was? It wasn't yellow enough. I wanted more of a Kermit the Frog green. Or you know what? I needed to be more of a bluish green color, pine green. Maybe I don't even want it to be green anymore. Maybe I decide that I wanted these different shades of turquoise. Or I wanted it to be over here in this area. Or over here in this area. And each time I'm making some kind of a move, I'm adjusting the hue. I could be adjusting the lightness, how light or how dark, if I wanted it to be pretty murky, or I wanted to lighten the thing up. And again, whatever I'm adjusting right here, so on this one, all I really did is I'm going to say move it to like this pine green. Neat. Then I could go ahead and hit save on this, pretend that I closed it, reopen it back up. And again, it's remembering what I did. So in a way, it's remembering that the last thing I did, that this one was plus 25 on the hue change. So if I wanted to go back, I can just slide it back to 0. If I maybe wanted to rethink and go back to the original. The other thing I could do is I could say, you know what? I hate what I did. I should have just stuck with the original. I can come back in here and grab this whole layer and throw it down in the trash can to get rid of it. Delete that. Yeah, delete it. I don't want that. Or turn the eyeball off. And then at that point, I'm right back where I started over again. So several different ways to be able to make a linear blend or to be able to make a radial blend, which is pretty popular in Photoshop. Another thing that you could end up doing is end up coming up here and say, well, what are some of these other ones? I could click like on this one right here, which is called the reflected gradient. And if I click on it, then I could come over here and I could either add my own new colors in my foreground background, or I could come in and pick some of the color palettes that they've already got. So some of these are already set up to have like a chrome effect on something. But I could just see what this one looks like. I'm going to hide this one so I'm kind of back to scratch. Pull down and let go. Not seeing much of a change here, but that's probably just because of the colors that I have set up here. So I could check what this color palette is and come back and cover that one up. So there's already a lot of built-in filters, or you can find places online where people have been saving tabs where they've created all hundreds of different kinds of these gradient blends that you could pull in and be able to import them from some other file that you found on the internet or something like that. So a lot of different kind of crazy options that you can use.